Good morning, it's Thursday the 11th of January and I want to say that my previous worries about the carers not believing me about my disability were completely unfounded. I think that that was just based on past negative experiences that I've had, so I apologise to them for just thinking that they were trying to make me prove myself. I think what they were actually doing is trying to find out if there's any equipment that could help me do tasks at home so that I could be more independent. Not because they don't want me to have carers, but because they don't want me to become dependent on carers if it's possible for me to do things on my own with extra equipment that they can provide. So I was too negative there and I'm sorry about that. So I've had the same carer for 3 or 4 days now in the mornings, and I was just chatting to her today and she got really emotional talking to me, and I could see that she was, crying and wiping away tears from her eyes and she was saying to me that she thought I was a complete inspiration because this is the first time she's come across somebody so young who's disabled to this extent with something that's never going to get better or go away, which is the case with EDS and POTS. And a lot of times with EDS it actually does get much worse over time. It does progress, although not necessarily always for everyone. But anyway, she started telling me how amazed she was that I could still feel this sense of enjoyment about life and feel happy and look so positive and cheery all the time when she comes in, because she was saying that, with older people, they have normally lived their lives before they get to the point of becoming disabled and needing care, and they've got all those experiences to look back on, their career, having children, maybe having grandchildren, their marriage, all holidays, all these other things that they've done throughout their life, big things that I might not get the opportunity to do, or at least won't be able to do in the same ways as an able-bodied person. And I told her that I think that no matter what's happened to you within reason, even if you're bedbound, it's still possible to find enjoyment in life. So I generally try to avoid questions of religion and spirituality because they can be very divisive at the best of times, and I don't want to tread on anyone's deeply held beliefs which are important to them and the way that they live their lives. But I did want to tell you a little bit about how I think I've managed to cultivate and maintain this positive attitude, if you don't mind listening. So, back in the late 90s and early noughties, around the millennium, it became really popular for people in the UK, or just Western people in general, to buy these books about Buddhism and to talk about Buddhism, and it just became really popular at that time. And my mother is someone who was always chronically unhappy in her life, regardless of what happens to her, And I mean, bad things really haven't happened to her much. She's just unhappy as a person. So she bought all these books about Buddhism. I'm not sure how many of them she read, but she certainly didn't put it into practice. I think it was just the trend at the time. But one really positive thing she did for me was when I was 8, this in the year 2000, she bought me a book which was meant really for older children and teenagers, to be an introduction to Buddhism that sort of teaches techniques for meditation that are simple enough that they could be understood by a child and could be practiced by them even alone. So the book focused on collecting one object, a pebble, and then doing meditations based on this pebble that you would keep in your pocket, which would, you'd focus on things like the texture, the shape, the colour, and that was a way to clear your mind of other intrusive thoughts that would keep popping in. And so in that way you could begin the practice of meditation. Well, once I read that book, I was completely hooked. It was an absolute revelation to me at that age that it was possible to, control your own state of mind and to be happy regardless of negative things that are happening around you in your environment. And then I went to the library and got more books and started doing my own research. And when the Dalai Lama came to the UK, I went to a talk by him and got the opportunity to meet him, which was life-changing. But anyway, without going too much into all that, I just wanted to let you know a bit about my sort of background of where I came to find this information. But just going back a bit and simplifying things, the main idea that's useful here is that in Buddhism, life is suffering. We should expect to suffer in life. We feel pain, we feel hunger, and some people feel absolute starvation, we feel thirst, we get ill, we die. Other people around us die or get ill or have other negative things happen to them. We experience other emotions like heartbreak or anger, and those things all lead to us suffering. But the idea is that if you can control your own state of mind and your response to these things that happen to you in life, then you can be a really happy and content person regardless of what happens to you. And to some people, Western people in the UK, me having this disability could be the worst thing that they could ever imagine happening to them. So from their point of view, because I'm suffering immensely, I must be, I shouldn't be happy, because of what's happened to me. And I mean, the perfect example for me is the contrast between myself and my mother. She wasn't able to put any of this into practice in her life, and she's chronically unhappy. And honestly, very little bad external things have ever happened to her in life, especially in comparison to the amount of things that have happened to me. And I'm not just talking about my disability here, I'm talking about a lot of other things as well which happened in the past. But I'm happy despite having, very limited options of what I can do with my life because of my disability and things, and she has all the freedom that she could want but is just perpetually miserable. And this is borne out by psychology experiments as well, because if I haven't mentioned, I did my undergraduate degree in psychology. There's been studies where they've compared people who've won the lottery to people who haven't, you know, and compared their levels of happiness before and after. And what they find is that after a few months, the people who've won the lottery are no happier than the people who didn't. So it's not really the external things in life that determine your happiness, it's your mental attitude. And if you're interested in this and want to get into it a bit, I'd recommend reading some introductory books about the practice of Buddhism, or researching online and seeing what you make of it. So anyway, that's it from me. I don't want to go too deep into all this, so I'm just going to go off now and dye my hair pink. Hair dyeing is in progress. Hello, so I've dyed my hair pink. I really like this colour, and I've also managed to dye my hands a little bit pink and a bit of my nose here. Hello, so it's Thursday evening. I just got back from the pet shop and my mum's been shouting at me again for 2 days about the fact that she had to take me there because there's no way for me to get there on a bus, and obviously fish aren't the sort of thing that you generally order on the internet. So when I was first there to get the tank, they said that you had to set the tank up for 3 days before you could get the fish. And then I asked my mum at the time, would she take me back to get the fish, because otherwise I won't get the tank, because I'm not going to just have an empty fish tank. And she said yes. And then for the last 2 days she's been screaming at me basically constantly because she had to take me back to the pet shop. And she's also been going on some rampage telling me how hard her life is compared to everyone else's, including mine, and I don't know what she's talking about, honestly. Anyway, I want to show you the new fish that I got. I've just got them in this bag here to be careful because I don't want to frighten them too much, but here they are. So I got 3 golden white cloud mountain minnows, 3 normal white cloud mountain minnows, and 2 bigger ones in here which are platies. So they'll all go in the tank this time, and then next time I'm going to get a couple of little shrimp and 4 danios, and then that'll be the whole tank finished. So I've just got to float these in the water for a bit before I let them loose.